Untold stories in the airways, flying through the night. Experience voices, tales so bold. Streaming live, the truth unfolds. Untold Radio Network, where secrets come alive. New episodes daily, the mysteries thrive. Great guests, super chat, it's so I remember right. Share and subscribe, join the side where truth can't hide. Aliens in the attic, UFOs in the sky. Cryptids lurking, oh my, oh my. Ghosts in the hallway, whispering your name. The paranormal, the unexplained. Become a VIP, get the inside scoop. Unlock the mysteries, be part of the group. Live streaming stories, they're talking to you. Super chats buzzing, join the crew. Untold Radio Network, where secrets come alive. New episodes daily, the mysteries thrive. Great guests, super chat, it's a wild member ride. Share and subscribe, join the side where truth can hide. So if you've got the guts and you want to explore, tune into the Untold, it's what you're looking for. From aliens to ghosts and all that's unseen. Untold Radio Network, where the world's mysteries convene.
Good morning, monsters, and welcome to this week's episode of Monsters on the Edge on the Untold Radio Network. I am your host, Barnaby Jones, from Cryptids, Anomalies, and the Paranormal Society. We are live in studio today. Good morning, Lee. How was the Van Meter Visitor Festival? The Van Meter Visitor Festival was this weekend. We were out in Van Meter, Iowa, and it was good. It was a lot of fun. We made it in and out alive. No sightings of the Van Meter visitor at that time, but I did talk to a witness who has seen a large flying creature just north of Des Moines, Iowa, as recently as this past year. He claimed that it was about 25 feet in diameter and width. So that's really cool. So not in Van Meter, but just north of Des Moines, Iowa. Several sightings over the past 4 years of this creature. Says it's flying up towards the reservoir there. So something to keep an eye on if you're in the area. Maybe you guys can see it. It's always flying in the same direction, he said, towards the reservoir every time that he's seen it. And not the only one. His wife has also seen it with him. So interesting stuff still going on over there in Van Meter. Alrighty then. So coming up, guys, we are heading into spooky season. So if you're interested in the paranormal, you can come on out to Wisconsin and hang out with the Caps team at Wisconsin's premier haunted gentlemen's club with over 100 years of haunted history. It was passed down for 4 generations in the same family until being sold for the first time in 1993 outside of the family. It has had 4 recorded deaths with the building. It has burned twice in its history and has the full gambit of paranormal activity. You can come out for private or personal or public investigations. Tickets are on sale now, or email us to do a private investigation. All this information and more is at hauntedbeansnappers.com. Head on over and check that out if you're looking for something spooky to do this October. Also, coming up at the Shawano County Library, October 16th, Brownsville Library, October 22nd, or the Neenah Public Library on October 25th. We are doing the Exploring the Paranormal presentation. So we're going to teach you all about ghost hunting, the proper equipment, how to do it, and how to do it safely, protect yourself, and all kinds of fun information that you need to know if you want to go on a spooky adventure this October. After all three of these presentations, we are going to be doing paranormal investigations at the library. These are free for you guys to join along with, and I know from the people that work there that the Shawano and Brownsville Public Library both have had paranormal activity in their library. So we don't know about Neenah yet, but the other two have claimed spooky stuff. So head on out if you're in the area. All that information and more is at wisconsincaps.com. Coming up next year, we're going to be at the Contact Modalities Expo in May and CapCon in May in Fond du Lac, Wisconsin. So more information on those as they come closer. But now, guys, we are live, so let us get to our guest for today's show. My guest today is Blake Duescher. He is the founder of the Lost Cryptid Conservatory and has over 20 years of Bigfoot research in Michigan. He has had encounters over that time and participated in the Bigfoot Odyssey's 168 Florida expedition. Blake is the host of the Michigan Bigfoot and Dogman Convention, and now he is here to share his research and sightings and experience with all of you. Please welcome Blake to the show. Blake, welcome to the show, man. Thanks for being here.
Hey, thanks for having me, man. Glad to be here.
It's my pleasure, man. It is my pleasure. So, tell us. I've heard a little bit about you. You've had experiences going back to all the way from your dad, right?
Yes. Well, growing up as a kid, we started. He talked about the Patterson film because he's seen it in theaters when he was a kid. And we started watching shows and getting real into it. And he did have his own Bigfoot encounter here in Michigan and stuff. Him and a buddy were out basically on the outskirts of a swamp and stuff back in their teenage years, out partying a bit. And there was this thing that basically took off like a bulldozer, smashing through all these thickets and brush and branches and stuff. And it's in an area where there was other reports and stuff that I would later, as I grew up, could confirm and stuff. So, yeah, so I was always hooked as a kid and stuff. And here we are.
So he didn't, he ever take you out Bigfooting, or how did you actually get started?
Well, you know, my grandma, actually, my mom's mom had a piece of property and stuff in the countryside with acres of woods and stuff. So we could always go there and go Bigfooting. But, you know, Bigfooting for me was, you know, always out in the woods, hanging out, basically just being out in the woods and stuff. And to them, it was just, you know, kids having fun in the woods. Nothing really happened. But when I was 6 out there, just hanging out and stuff, doing regular stuff, playing with sticks, swords, fighting and stuff. But as my dad was doing chores around the property and stuff for grandma, about the time to basically about leaving and stuff, he's packing away. I looked down this trail and stuff, basically where these two trees meet. You walk down this way and then turn. There's the main trail system, you know, to go deeper on the property. And I looked, and this said basically a Sasquatch had walked in between these two trees. And I turned around again, and, you know, it was disappeared, and ran for my dad and got him to come down and investigate a little bit. And then there was nothing there and stuff. And these were small pine trees and stuff. But I vividly, still to this day, remember the silhouette, the creature, even doing the patty thing of it turning and stuff, and looking as it's in between the two gaps of the trees on the trail. And that really kind of hooked me even further and stuff. And then, of course, we spend hours watching the TVs and documentaries, and then eventually go out and stuff started to happen.
Awesome. Now you have had a numerous. I was listening to some of your other interviews and stuff, and for most of my guests, like I told you before the show, I like to kind of keep things new and fresh with my guests. Like I know, like everybody tells the same stories over and over and stuff. So, but you have had so many experiences, a lot of audio and vocals and stuff like that. Like you've had just I don't even know where to begin with all this stuff. So I mean, you've had let me ask you this. Have you had a full-on daylight sighting?
Yes and no. I mean, that I guess would qualify as one. There was another time we were up in Michigan with James was with me and stuff, and I looked again and kind of the same thing happened. I seen a very flash moment of this upright, tall humanoid thing, dark between two trees, and then you stop and you do a kind of second, and then actually James walked over there. We were filming and stuff. Nothing was over there that we could physically see and stuff, although the grass seemed to be matted down. I've had nighttime visuals and stuff, but nothing clear in the daytime that I'm like, holy crap, that was definitely Bigfoot and stuff. Although James and stuff is saying fleeting glimpses of them and stuff during the day that freaked him out.
Very cool. Yeah, like I said, I've heard a lot of stories from you and stuff, but I haven't. There's a lot of like it crawled across the trail, or it was standing in eye shine and stuff. And I was just wondering.
Oh yeah, a lot of stuff at night. And the only reason why I'm lucky enough to get all this stuff on try to get it is because I've had a lot of experiences where I'm not able to record it. I didn't record it. I didn't even have equipment, growing up, starting out, having experiences and it just stories isn't really good enough. So it really drove me to get equipment, get better equipment, try to just get as much evidence to be able to prove and show a little bit like, hey, it's just not a story with a bunch of people out in the woods, but there's physically stuff going on. You can hear, see. That's what I try to do. It's hard.
No, I trust me, I believe you. I think you and I kind of have a very similar kind of start to, the Lost Cryptid Conservatory and CAPS. Like we went out looking for stuff and just started GoProing everything. And when we started getting evidence, well, what the heck do you do with it? You got to do something with it. Otherwise it's just sitting there. And so we started our YouTube and that, and it seems like, that's kind of how your Lost Cryptid started too, right?
Yeah, because you quickly run out of space to store all this stuff, especially, and it was like, oh, well, I just throw it on YouTube for free and then store it, and then it's like, well, I can make it public, and then it's like, instead of being in the shadows and lurking around in the groups, it's like, okay, maybe it's time to go public and stuff, and then it starts up the storm of both good and bad weather, and it's been a fun ride and stuff, and had a lot of people join and stuff and doing this and that, doing different events, going to meet in different places, people, and of course going to Florida with 168. But it's always been about, trying to get the evidence and stuff as best as you can. No matter the circumstances, there's always going to be stuff that's hindering you, that's in your benefit. And it is actually really hard to pull that camera up and get going and be ready and stuff. Actually, as we just got reminded this last weekend, of always be ready to go, and no matter what happens, there's always gonna be something that's just like you can't help it.
Yeah, exactly. Like I said, I'm not that smart as maybe you are. I have 9 12 terabyte hard drives sitting next to me here, and almost all of them are full again. And each year I seem to add one more to them because I don't delete anything. I just store it because it's valuable information. You go back to that area, you have a full. We record from the second we get out of the car, and just keep going. So we run all of our GoPros on external batteries. So we have 8 hours of video per person on any place that we go, and that's all just sitting there.
It adds up.
Yeah.
And you got to go through it and stuff too. And you got to go through it a couple of times because you might need to listen to it. You might need to look at different spots and plus editing and all that. It really adds up, especially, with recorders and stuff. And
absolutely. Yeah. So what you kind of alluded to it. You guys went out and had some really cool experiences this weekend. What happened?
Well, you want to talk about new stuff that hasn't been told turnover. And we just had the Bigfoot conference and stuff, and then our camp out here in Michigan, Lower Michigan actually, and it was pretty good turnout, and a lot of younger individuals came with bright, inquisitive minds, asking good questions and stuff. So, but the camp out and stuff, we went out to an area of multiple areas of sightings and locations and stuff like that, and experiences what we've had personally in this exact spot and area. But I actually took two non-researchers. The one lady's name is Tracy, and her husband is Dan and stuff. And I was actually on their podcast recently and stuff. Very nice people and stuff. They actually invited me to their home and had dinner. So they were, already ready to go. But, they kind of had their own experiences, but nothing definitive. But we went out there the first night and stuff with Tracy and basically, did some calls and stuff, kind of just checking the area out. And nothing happened besides she said she's seen a flashlight in a tree and stuff. And, I'm always really skeptical about stuff, it kind of needs to almost like smack you in the face and, on video too, to be worth anything. And so I was thinking, it could have been a firefly or something. But the next night, we took her husband out during the daytime and into the woods and stuff, but the same exact area basically. And, at first there was not much happening. I'm showing them different stuff that had happened between our crew and this and that. And we were going to go check out some of these tree breaks and stuff. And we got to the spot where me and James actually had this massive tree knock happen. And so I'm telling him about that. And, he's a builder and stuff. And he's looking over there and he's like, that kind of looks a little weird over there. So you might have found like, some manipulation, kind of like a tree blind nest kind of a thing. And what really caught our eyes and stuff is what caught their eyes, because I didn't want to talk about Bigfoot or influence them in any way, but was the over and under of branches going over something, under something, and back over something and stuff. Weaved, not, it's maybe a 1 in a million shot how it could all fell down and stuff. But so we're like, yeah, it looks really cool, maybe, possibly. So we continue on our way and stuff. But very soon we start hearing knocks. And, at first, you try to always debunk it and stuff. Is it trees? Is it a bird or anything like that? And then as we're walking, me and Tracy, I'm talking and stuff, and Dan's behind us and stuff, and he starts hearing all this stuff. And unfortunately, I have the recorder going, so I have to check all of the recorder. But I'm talking to her, we're walking, and he starts hearing a lot of stuff. Unfortunately, I keep talking. I'm like, man, I don't hear it. And I'm like, of course, because there's always something you're talking. It's like, but the person in the back's hearing it. So I'm like, okay. But as we get into this one spot, there was knock, knock, knock. And it wasn't like a power knock. These were actually like soft, pretty decently quiet compared to a full-blown tree knock, but close enough that it was like right there. You go walk over there and stuff, and there's nothing there. And Dan's kind of like, he's a hunter, used to be a hunter. Pretty average guy, but smart guy. And we get up to this one spot, and he's like, did you guys just hear that? It sounded like something just threw a rock or something just fell right there. And as he turns around his point, and of course I have to say again, I feel bad. No, I didn't hear it, and Chase didn't hear it. We heard the same exact thing on the other side of the trail behind him that he didn't hear in that moment. And we just asked, hey, did you hear that? And he didn't. And it was pretty good sounding. I'm assuming it was a rock or something that fell. It was almost like it got thrown up and it just thunk. And they were pretty excited and stuff. So we went back to camp and stuff, but we went back later that night and got out of the truck, getting all the camera equipment ready. I'm giving them equipment because they don't have anything. I'm giving them night vision. I have a thermal, the new one. And I'm like, oh, I got to change the SD card out of course, the night vision camera. And I forgot my headlamp in the truck. And as I get the truck open, I shut it. All of a sudden, bam, there's two whoops from the other side of the road. Whoop, whoop. And Dan's like, are you serious? Is that real? And I'm like, I'm like, yeah, dude, come on, let's get going. We still got a long ways to go. And he's like, you guys heard that, right? I'm like, he's like, yeah. I'm kind of like looking at my recorder that's not turned on. I'm like, yeah, I heard it.
Yeah,
I know. But they were there, and they witnessed it. It was pretty. It was really good. It was no more than, I mean, it sounded like 50 yards, no more than 100 yards, and it sounded like it was up in a tree watching us or something. And so as we continue to go and stuff, we start hearing stuff, and I got the recorder going. Start hearing some vocalizations. They're excited and stuff, and they want to do tree knocks, and I was like, go ahead, yeah, it's fine. It's not going to hurt anything. And we get the coyotes to respawn, and there's a pack over here, and then all of a sudden there's this lone, starts off sounding like kind of like a coyote sound, and then what joins in and what kind of freaked them out is this other vocalization that drowned them out on the same side of the road where we just heard this thing. Made all the other coyotes go quiet and stuff. They didn't respond back to this thing. And then you hear this a little yip, yip, yip. And it's like, okay. And I told them, it sounds pretty good, but it could be a rare coyote vocalization. We don't know, which would be awesome in itself because scientists are still looking for that kind of stuff. But it sounded meaty and stuff. I mean, it'd be, a pretty big coyote, or I don't want to say dogman or anything, but it sounded like it had some meat to it, not like a 60 or 40-pound coyote that you would normally. It's like you hear them a lot, you should instantly know it's coyotes. Nothing, not worth it. But this sounded pretty good. We also ended up hearing normal owl calls and stuff. Had barred owl calls, right? And they do their thing, and they did the monkey sequence. And I told them about not confusing this with monkeys and all that, but. Then we heard again, Dan heard it more than anyone, was this like a 500-pound owl, they're ho ho, and freaking him out a little bit. And I heard it too. It was deep. But as we were walking back and stuff, he's hearing stuff, and we're checking the thermal. I'm checking the thermal the entire time, and I didn't see nothing, which is kind of like, okay, which is a little weird, but at the same time, it leads into more questions. The more stuff that happens around you, and you don't have any thermal, just I would say lends towards the woo side a little bit. But so yeah, as we made more tree knocks as we came out and stuff, and kind of freaked them out, and they were all excited and happy, and I was excited that we at least had a bunch of stuff to go through on the recorder. So hopefully I can bring that up to you guys. But there's some decent ones that I know that I'll be talking over and stuff, but hopefully you can hear the tail end of those.
Very cool. Very cool. Yeah, I love those 800-pound owls. I'm very skeptical going out there, and you mentioned the barred owls. Now, those things can make some really weird noise. I've done some calls out in the woods, and you get the call back. Have you heard that?
Yeah. It sounds avian and stuff too. Is another thing you try to tell. It sounds avian and stuff is the biggest thing, and the monkey chat, they go ooh, ooh, when like there's multiple and they're calling each other, they start monkey chattering and calling, and that can confuse people a little bit.
I don't think that I've heard that yet, but I've been like a couple hundred, not even 100 feet from the wah, and that sounds very primate, but it is a barred owl. That when you call and it's pitch black out there and that thing comes from right above you or behind you, that scares the crap out of you.
The biggest thing is, usually owls will start flying around. So hopefully it'll make some calls and flies around, and you can tell, it's an owl and stuff. I've had one of those make a call like that during the daytime, and I was like, is it because there's supposedly Bigfoot mimicry, and I've heard the 500-pound owls and different calls. It could be mimicry, but it's like, unless you're visually seeing it, you can't really prove it, which is why we try at least. And so that was some exciting stuff in an area that had lots of stuff happen. Of course, but it's always hit and miss. And I've always told them, don't expect anything to happen, because 99% of the time, over 99% of the time, nothing's going to happen. But you keep coming out here in that 1%, 1 to 10% of the time, it does happen, and it just boosts your your drive to keep going instead of hitting a plateau of, there's nothing happening, and can lead you down some bad paths like hoaxing and over exaggerating stuff, because you hit a dry spell and stuff, because it happens. It's not like these things are waiting for you every single time, every day to play with you or whatever, for you to research. They have things they're doing, time, schedule, migration, whatever. And if they want to interact with you, since it's another thing, they could be there, you could be on the money, but if they don't want to do it, they're not going to do it. And then it could be like they weren't there, but thankfully, there's little tricks, little stuff that I do, or I mention, of getting them used to you, wearing the same hat, obviously the same car color, doing the same unique sounds, calls that you would do uniquely to you, that they could recognize that that's you. And I would like to believe, you asked me, what earlier before the interview, what's some of the things that I've learned personally through my experience of researching and stuff. And I really think is that they will recognize you through observation and stuff, especially if you start bugging them a lot. But they observe humans' routines and stuff. I always like the farmer analogy. They watch the farmer because they have lots of property and it's a food source. But he's doing certain things each season, even monthly, day by day, that's chores and patterns that are recognizable, that, they can predict that this person and these people are not going to be in the woods until hunting season, at least. The farmer or the boy or the grandson might come and hunt. But there might be certain times where not even that happens. And there's certain areas around the farm or pockets of swamp that they never go to, or, seasonally, this is the most safest areas. And I really think down the line of private property, old people, like they have it all mapped out in their heads of safe zones, food zones, places they can hunker down and stuff while traveling. I mean, it's hard to say how far they travel, but you got to have places where you kind of are thinking about, I'm heading to this place because it's safe and I know how to get there, and I know how to hide in between here and there, between the cities, suburbs, roads, highways, and windows and lights and everything else. So but I really think they recognize you. They get close. They try to observe, and it seems like it's not. A lot of it is who you take out with you, because if you take out people who, you just got from the bar and they're a little inebriated and they're kind of a butthole about stuff. Mm-hmm. I don't think that's going to play into your favor of wanting them to, especially interact. If you want real interactions, like what me and Jason Kenzie had up in the UP, you're not going to get that with some buttholes or some people who are not going to, I don't know, whatever the Bigfoot don't like, we don't know what it is, but it definitely seems like, the better the people you have with you, funnier the laughter, the good vibes that are going into it, I think really help too.
I think you're absolutely right on that. We were talking about the Hide and Adventure property in Upper Michigan, and Craig Salk, the property owner, would do the same routine every week. He would go mow the lawn every Thursday. He would set up the flags and the blocks and stuff for the tours for Friday, and then they'd be open Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And in his book and stuff, he talks about whenever the routine was changed, they would let him know. Like the one day that Barb, instead of riding back there on the truck, walked. And she said that these two things shadowed her the entire way back there. And then they knocked over a 91-foot tree that day. So they're very adamant that this is your routine. We know your routine. And if you break that routine, we're going to let you know that we noticed, So I think you're right on with that.
And that is, and two, it's a safety net for them. It's like, okay, mm-hmm. We predictively know that like that's what they're gonna do. So we tell the kids to go run and do all of this. So when they walk, instead of doing this, there's more situational potential for that person to walk into the woods or to notice or to do something else instead of the truck that's most likely going to drive by and not stop. They're not going to get out unless something major happens, compared to the person observing as they're walking through. Now, I've noticed kind of that stuff is they start, I particularly had one incident that, they start changing stuff, adding stuff, tree manipulations. And adding different stuff that I would notice. And I think I forgot to say this, and last night or this weekend, we walked this trail and stuff, and we actually at nighttime found an old beer can from the 70s and stuff. Dan was like, dude, it has the like kind of a teardrop pull pin handle hole instead of the regular one. And it was like mint condition on the trail and stuff, not buried in leaves or anything like that. And kind of weird. So I think they do put stuff on the trail 100%, because I have evidence and stuff of like walking down the trail, and then you walk back, and then there's something on the trail laid over the trail, like branches, broken off branches. I've encountered that numerous times. Green water bottle. Walked down this trail, walked past this green water bottle sitting on this log, plain as view, green as can be. It's like that was not there when I walked this trail. I didn't pass anyone. I didn't pass anyone on the way back. It's a pretty long trail in that particular evidence. But bird feathers, cut a couple of pictures of bird feathers, same instance. So I think, again, is they put stuff on the trail for you to notice. And if you notice it, it's like, let's put more stuff. It kind of maybe falls in that more savant kind of a thing. I'm not sure at all. It's just something that I observed. I don't know really the meaning behind it, other than it really does seem like you're walking on the trail today and it's like, oh, this is something new. Change it a little bit and they add a little stuff, but you really have to go to the area every single day, and it's kind of hard with life and everything else, and spending enough time out there to actually observe, and not just I got to hurry up and go out there and set the recorder and hurry back, which is unfortunately usually what's going on. But getting the recorder out, getting a couple 100,000 hours of audio to go through is pretty awesome, and I invite everyone to try to do that too.
So many questions for you here. All right, so
you stuff too. I'm sorry.
That's right. You mentioned the savant stuff, so I know that you got to go out Bigfooting with Christopher Noel. We had him up in Michigan. We took him out to the Hide and Adventure property, and so well aware of all that stuff. Now, on another one of your shows that you've been on, you talked about how what I thought was interesting is that we go out as researchers and we will gift or do something like that to get these interactions. And you talk about these things kind of doing the same thing with leaving the water bottle or the stick to see our reactions, and how you think that they're kind of playing with us at the same time to see those reactions. Do you think that is kind of, like we talk about being their TV show, right? So they're bored, they're fed, they're happy and everything, and they got nothing better to do. Is this like the opposite of, like finding Bigfoot? We always see like the memes of, finding people. Like, I saw a Littlefoot out in the woods today. He was wandering around with a camera, whatever. Do you think that it's something along that nature? Like, these things know that we're out there, we come out there, and they're trying to interact and watch how we do it the same way that we do it to them?
I don't know. I do think that when an animal is properly fed, doesn't have to worry about danger or shelter and stuff, you have time to think, and you can sit and observe everything. You learn about things, maybe like mimicry. You learn the pattern and stuff. But I do think it's kind of like, as researchers, we are the people that notice them or are inclined to notice them. So these things are like, hey, these kind of people with these funky little equipment and the Bigfoot logos on our cars and stuff. It's like these kind of people, like, they notice us and stuff and looking for us, but they're not hunting us. They don't have guns and stuff. And it's like, when they notice if the tree manipulation, of course, is really happening, it would be like, we're noticing that stuff and taking pictures. And so when they put stuff on trails, or they adding to the tree structures, or they make a new tree structure on the side of a trail that wasn't there before. And then you move stuff, and then they add a pine branch, and there's no pine trees for 200 yards. It's like, is it because I noticed it and I was taking pictures and I was messing with it, and then they just added something else that I would notice or make a new one? And it's all speculation, but it seems to be, at the very least, they're understanding that we're noticing the very nuances, I guess, of some of their evidence they leave behind and footprints and stuff like that. So I really think it is maybe because they notice changes and stuff so way faster, and they process these new changes like trail cameras and stuff. Those new changes, it wasn't there before. Whereas humans, we're not as good, but we can pick up a little bit. Maybe they're trying to test us in that kind of a recognition category or something. I'm not sure. Unfortunately, we only know through our experiences and the behavioral experiences that we in those situations that we have. There's no eyes-on observation of a Jane Goodall, especially extended length, that we need to even actually just take notes and ask even more questions. But at that least, it would answer some of the more basic questions. But we're talking hundreds of hours of observational experience to figure out what's really going on, or be able to talk to one.
That begs the question, these stick structures and stuff that we're finding, do they mean anything even to the Bigfoot, or are they just doing it to see if we'll notice? Well, I've seen humans walk down this trail and look at those things. So maybe if I build one, they'll come look at it over here. They mean absolutely nothing to the Bigfoots aside from the fact that we like them. So they put them there for us. It opens up a whole new can of wormhole of the structures and anything like that too.
Yeah, I don't know. I think the structures exist. Either it's totally nature, or they're doing, or something else is causing it. Because nature can do a lot of stuff. I work in the tree industry. There's a lot of storm damage. Trees can twist and flip and will twist under weight and wind. Will do a lot of them interesting stuff actually, and causes a lot of stuff that we would see. But we've been in areas, and there's, I personally have found a place where there's tree chunks in the crotches of trees that are flipped, like the tree just like totally flipped around, which is not possible, falling like that. And there's nothing else to like trip over it, causing it to flip. Really interesting structures and weaves over the over and under thing. It's like, I don't know how things could fall into place. And then you look, and there's branches and there's stuff over it that would have to crash through, causing damage, which we don't see and stuff. So, but if so I think they do it on their own and we discover it kind of thing. But if it is interesting that you thought of the idea like they're mimicking us, and then that would be like a kind of a co-cultural phenomenon thing that we're both creating at the same time. That would be pretty interesting actually. But I feel that they're already have those for and to build and stuff. If we talk about Native Americans and stuff, some of the stories, they don't really talk about them being the most dexterous with their fingers for little stuff. So some of the bigger stuff we don't see them building stuff like buildings or shelters, or we never really found a home den or whatever they really sleep in, or if they sleep like a deer or something.
I tend to agree. I think that they do it on their own and stuff, but it's just kind of interesting thought to, like, since we discovered them, now they're just like, well, I'm going to build that just because they looked at it. I don't know. Interesting.
It could be too.
Lee Warner would like to know, have you ever found anything that was braided? You talked about like weaved and stuff like that, but have you ever seen, like, we've heard flags, horse manes and stuff, or have you ever found anything like that?
I'm just trying to remember, there's I don't think so. No, not that I can really think about. Most of the stuff would be like stuff that's interwoven or over and under, and that kind of stuff. But I've found some other evidence, seen evidence of other people's who I would trust. They say, that's not fake, that's not them.
Interesting. I have one question for you, and I know we have some audio and video and stuff to check out too that you've shared here. But so we are live here on YouTube. If you're not watching this live and you're listening to it, just remember there is a video version of this. So once we get to the video and stuff, if you want to head on over to YouTube and check that out, you can actually watch and listen along with the videos that we got for the show tonight. But if you have any other questions, we are live as well. Throw them in the comments section. We'll get to them as soon as possible. My question is, when you talked about all these audio and stuff, do you use like a visualizer or anything to look through the audio instead of just listening to it?
Yeah, Audacity is free and stuff. I always use that, recommend it because it's free and all that. But the one video that we'll see is like from, I don't know, some old software I was using at the time. So it probably looks like that.
So I use Sonic Visualizer. I got that from Cliff
Okay,
Billington and stuff and recommended it. And it allows you to see not just the line spectrogram, but the full like data of all the audio. And one of the things I've noticed is when a person does a Bigfoot call, the Ohio howl style, it runs the whole gambit of the spectrum, everything from the 400 hertz all the way up to the 1000 hertz. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So you have this line of the call all the way across. But when you have specifically what I would consider, I've done it with some people, other people's evidence and stuff of actual just Bigfoot, this audio only is down in like the 400 hertz range. It doesn't carry on through the other ranges. So I'm wondering, because I haven't done this specifically, but as you were talking earlier, have you done it with coyote? And have you noticed if a coyote call hits on multiple ranges versus the 800-pound owl coyotes, does that only hit in the 400 range?
I believe on Audacity you can see the spectrogram graph and the ranges and stuff. I do have a bunch of coyote calls that are within the normal ranges and stuff, and a variety of and you hear them, they're instantly coyote and stuff. I don't have evidence to compare with like a 500-pound owls or those 500-pound coyotes calls, but I have some stuff that is in the low range, the low end stuff, that I find very interesting. It's more bassy and stuff, and we actually, when you talk about instant, I just forgot it. I'll think about it when you get zapped and stuff. When you get zapped, infrasound, that is low end bassy stuff. Yeah. That's a low end. So the lower and stuff we actually can't hear, and of course the higher you wouldn't hear. But the higher and stuff usually is louder pitch sounds. But low end guttural and even just low bass stuff causes that infrasound. Even maybe potential of the zapping sickness and stuff like that. So I actually think that some of the low end stuff and quieter too. So when I make whoop calls, I'm not trying to call blast unless I really want to call blast, but you're trying to project the sound and shoot it into the area. So like 100 yards can hear it, 200 yards the maximum, but you're not blasting the whole area. And 200-yard radius is blasting the area actually. Mm-hmm. But these low calls and stuff that you're shooting out and stuff that I believe are going to be on the lower end spectrum, and the amount of volume of air and stuff that it can produce, it sounds more powerful and should have more sustainability and stuff in the long end. So I do have some calls and stuff, but they're I don't remember the exact numbers and stuff for the hertz range. But I do have them on graphs and stuff.
No, I was just wondering because, like I said, the same vocal, like an Ohio howl or whatever, would take all the way from the low end all the way up to the higher end, whereas the same call that would be a potential Bigfoot only has that arc down in the low end. There's no residual up or down from it. And I was wondering if coyotes had that.
I do have a recording, and Jeff Harding talked about this. Coyotes can go from like O to A or A to O, one of the two, and they can't do the reverse of that. And I have a recording of the coyote doing, I thought it was the reverse and stuff. It sounds really weird. So actually I do have that stored away and stuff, and just got to have to look for it. So, the problem is you get all this evidence, start getting stuff, but then I got a backlog of hundreds of hours of stuff, the days and nights, and they add 12 hours a night, 12 hours a day. Well, you 30 days. Well, that adds up, it adds some more. It's like, so, yeah, there's a bunch of stuff I have to do more stuff with, other than finding it, clipping it, seeing the graph and saving that clip and stuff, and then having it and then showing. But there's a lot more like diving into it, looking at the graph, looking at the numbers, comparing it to other animals. That it's just hard to find time, and then going out and I've just got a bunch of more stuff, and how it is. So I had to get a new terabyte drive and stuff because of the same thing. And now I'm trying to take all the stuff off the computer and refresh, make memory on the computer.
Yep.
So I got a couple different things I'm supposed to do, and I could do this, do that, but how it is.
Right there with you, man. That's why I said like I haven't done it. So I was just wondering if maybe you had, because you have melodies and stuff. But
one of those things I have to do.
Absolutely. All right, man. Well, we got a whole bunch of videos and audio and stuff here that you've provided for the show. What do you want to talk about first? What do you want to queue up here?
You can do the weird audio, not enhanced with I think a rock throwing one with James.
Yep, absolutely.
That's a pretty old one.
Do you want to talk about it first? Tell us a little backstory, or do you?
Basically the first set of videos I started making, I met James stuff at a Bigfoot conference up in West Branch with the late Phil Shaw, and started going out to this area. And about the third time out, we went to this tree. Got struck by lightning. It was down. We were investigating why it found out why it was lightning. I heard a tree knock. Bam! I was like, "Oh, did you hear that?" And it was on video. You guys can see it on the YouTube and all that. We started walking around, going towards the area where the sound was, and we started hearing and experiencing more things, and it escalated into vocalizations and at the time I kept shutting the camera off, and then would turn it back on because I found that sometimes the GoPro, the full length files, it gets corrupted. It's easier to mess up. James started freaking out, these weird calls, vocalizations, even an orangutan whoop, I would describe, really, So, and that's when this starts happening. And then afterwards we continue up this ridge and more stuff starts happening. James kind of freaks out a little bit, starts trying to talk to them like, "Hey, who's there? Anyone out there? We don't mean harm." And basically, we have to get out of there. It's always the person you're with is freaking out, or they want to leave, or you got to take their safety and well-being in first, whether it's stuff's happening, you really want it on camera or not. Their well-being matters more. So
absolutely. All right, well, let's check this out. Again, if you are just listening to us on your favorite podcast platform, this is a video podcast as well. I highly encourage you to pause it here at about the 47-minute mark and head on over to YouTube and check this out with us. Here we go.
But we just heard another howl. Which way do you think it came from?
Right behind us.
Yep.
Oh, wait.
Oh, something was just thrown at us? Guys,
No
but
idea.
we just heard another howl. Which way do you think it came from?
Right behind us.
Yep.
Oh, wait.
Oh, something was just thrown at us? Oh, something.
I'm laughing. James is in the chat. He's Swift Rage, and
Yeah.
he's just commenting. These old videos show how new he was at Bigfooting, but these are good old videos. But so that the first little clip was the vocalization. You hear James kind of, huh, and then that clip is when I try to explain what happened. We both point. I think we point at the creature, and then he throws it in this direction. And I slow it down because you see our micro expressions in real time as we're kind of like, reacting to what's being thrown. And you can kind of hear it and stuff too. Oh, these were a couple years ago. This was 2019.
Grandizer asked what year they were taken in.
Late May, I believe.
Very cool. All right.
Or June or something like that, but yeah. And then the enhanced version, it would be that sound at the beginning, if people weren't able to hear that, I guess. But
so it's the weird vocal.
Would be in the enhanced one, yeah. I think I loop it a little bit more.
All right, let's take a listen.
So you hear that like high pitched like woo thing. That's kind of, I don't know what is going on, but it's a weird audio because it's almost it's almost like an infrasound kind of a thing, but you hear it obviously, but it's like it was like thrown at us is what it felt like real time and went going over that audio.
It sounds like you can kind of hear it in the slow motion. It sounds like it's coming through the trees and then dunk kind of.
Yeah, that's why I named it weird.
Yeah.
Weird owl. I don't know, but we just, it freaked us out, James especially because you can hear him, but like, yeah.
He says, so it was June.
Yeah, it was June of 2019. Yep.
Yeah.
And boy, did we just get hooked and continue to go to that area and still have stuff, still find stuff. We've actually found a bunch of tree structures along the way. So those set of videos are multiple Bigfoot encounters, and the last video was named Escalation, and that hides all the good stuff. There's a couple videos before that have some smaller stuff. We find tree structures in those. But Escalation was when all starts happening, and James kind of gets freaked out in it. But hey, we were both, new together, and he was kind of new, so had lots of fun since then.
Absolutely. I mean, what do you want to talk about next year?
Oh, any of them. It don't matter. Whatever, which one.
Red Eyes in Florida.
Yeah, that was during the 168 expedition. And
can you kind of briefly just kind of tell everybody what that is?
Yeah. So the late great Kerry Arnold was founded the channel called Bigfoot Odyssey on YouTube. You can still go there. Tons of interviews from a lot of good people. Great information and stuff you should rewatch. And he did this big project that he brought together was called the 168, and it's a week long, 168 hours in a Bigfoot hotspot area, trying to get evidence, having lots of great researchers from all around the country show up and try to just go out in the woods, go for the action, and get the shots and stuff. And we had lots of different researchers, lots of different strategies over the multiple nights. A lot of different things happened with my Michigan group as we went out, and other people that went out and at different locations. And I got a track that I casted. Other people got tracks that we casted and eye shined and stuff. But this particular night was the second to last night, I believe. The Michigan crew went out by ourselves and started hearing stuff all around us, but wasn't quite sure. And I kind of separated and went out this way up front and started filming. And then I seen this red eye shine, and in the moment you'll see me. The beam of light is on it, and then it's off of it because I'm trying to see if the creature is noticing the beam of light. And then when I flash it back on the beam of light, to me it seemed like it reacted to it. And I was using a Psionics Aurora night vision, color night vision, and a aftermarket infrared light.
Sounds good. All right, let's take a watch.
I got eye shine right in front of me. I said, there's eye shine right here, left of me. Directly left. One eyeball. No? I think it sees the IR light. It is directly left of us. Get your light off, get your light off, get your light off of it.
On the ground?
No, it's up in the air. It's 8 feet up. It's right there.
Yeah, that's interesting. You know, like we talk about the self-illuminating, you know, with the IR light shining on it, you could see like, okay, well, it's reflecting your IR light back at you. But when you turn off of it and you just clearly see this like laser light coming out of the woods there, that's pretty interesting.
And you can hear my voice crack. It was kind of freaky. I'm standing close by it. My guys are back behind it. And it seemed like it reacted, like it ducked behind the tree, and I'm standing right there. And of course, when he comes up and he starts shining the light, I was like, get your light off of it. And but nothing else happened in that area, you know, just a couple what ifs and maybes. We, you know, heard stuff that, you know, we could associate to that thing. But that's one of those times where I'm glad I got it on camera, because I've seen it before without getting it on camera. But so we need to do some more testing with that actual camera, a colorless or color night vision camera, and different animals to make sure that they don't self-illuminate glow like that. But I know owls can reflect and be reddish tinted, but no animals self-illuminate glow that I know of.
Yeah. And like when your other guy comes up with the red flashlight, you can clearly see the outline of that and where it's hitting and stuff. And that's not visible in the rest of the video. Otherwise you'd clearly notice it. So it's not like somebody else was shining around back there and that's where it was coming from. But it's
right.
I don't know. With IR, it's a little weird. I don't know that maybe it was reflecting off of just the ambient IR light or something.
Maybe with the it possibly is with that night vision, colored night vision. It could be picking up the ambient enough that it reflected that brightly too. But it would show that whatever that creature is has a lot of night vision lacertutinum, and the tatums, the little spokes, like say that the more that you have of them, the more night vision you have, the bigger ocular eye, the more the layer you would have to reflect light. So whatever it is can clearly see in the nighttime. It clearly sees me. And in that video, when I first look and pan to the left, there's a little flash of some kind of light or something. I don't know what it is and stuff, but I never associated that with Bigfoot or anything. But there is that little artifact in there that is interesting too.
You know, like you said, I'm just very skeptical and stuff, but it does look very much self-illuminated, you know, without trying to debunk it and stuff. There's definitely, when you pan away from it, that looks like somebody shining a laser pointer or something out of the woods there. And it's very bright. So interesting.
And I invite everyone to take a look at the 168 expedition that Carrie made, the whole documentary and stuff, because there's a lot of stuff on there. And there's a lot of evidence that unfortunately, you know, never got to part 2 and all that. And like when this creature spider crawled in front of me and I visually seen it at nighttime, great visual, and filmed it on that Sony 4K camera. But, you know, a 10-second clip in a like 4 or 5 hour long total clip, it's kind of hard to find for someone who doesn't exactly know when and where to look. So
I hear you. All right, we have let's see, we have two other clips here. Bigfoot on both sides of me. You want to cue that one up?
Yeah. So that one is basically, I was out in this area, had multiple tree knocks, found structures, the tree manipulations on the trails was happening in this area. And I thought I was getting followed. I thought I got followed a couple of different times. But this time, you know, I was ready to go, tripod, set it up with the GoPro, and shot what I thought was something making moving on purpose. And then there was something behind me. And then I kind of was like, oh, okay, maybe I should move to a better position where I could at least see around me a little bit more. But it wasn't that full of foliage enough that sometimes you think you would be able to see these things because they're right there, but you just don't.
Here we go. Oop. Do you see anything in that video?
No, that's actually, like I said, small little clip. I think the video is like 8 or 18 minutes long.
There's something moving straight out from the camera.
I thought now this was a couple years ago when I went through all this footage and I thought I looked and seen everything, but no. And as I turned around the longer clip, there's people are like, this lady's like, there's a Bigfoot right there in this stump, the stump that's right next to me. It's like, no, but
let me see if I can pull this up in a different way and show you here, because there's something moving. It's playing on my end, but not yours.
I don't know if there's a way to like zoom in or anything on StreamYard. You'd be pulling the video back up.
Yeah.
Or you could take us out of it.
Yeah.
But I'm all open for interpretations if someone can actually spot something and stuff. Like I said, that video is a couple of years old now, but I always like it because it seemed like I got the response. And there's been other times where, there are you've been followed out and stuff. And in that particular location, a tree creaking, the same sound, exact sound, was following me through this area because I would move. It's like, okay, you're having activity here, right? Well, let's move 200 yards. Let's move away. If a regular animal's not going to follow you, a deer or whatever, it's not going to follow you. But I had this particular sound of the tree creaking following me in brushy areas and stuff where there is no big trees to creak and stuff like that. So, but no matter what evidence you get, especially audio, it's always good to save and keep and look at and to relook at, because you never know if you discover it, whether it be a legitimate source or audio that turns out to be avian and stuff. And actually, we had audio from the west side of Michigan that I just forgot his name. I had he doesn't do much stuff on his YouTube now, but he was friends with like Leon and Thompson and can't forget his name. Anyways, he was like, these are owls and stuff, and he sent me some recordings, and I had a little pushback and stuff because I was like, no, this is legit. But the more I kept listening and stuff, I was like, oh, you know what? I do hear the avian in that and stuff. So I'm all open for people to find stuff. If we could find out the real answers, then that's all that matters. And so there is one particular time where actually that avian sound was like, oh yeah, you know what? It's an owl. And I can't remember. I have to give him credit. He has I guess I could look it up on my phone. He did like a lot of critical thinking, Bigfoot stuff, very skeptical minded. And so you're able to play it slowly, or are you still
I was looking right here. I didn't see it that time. Trying to figure out. But it was right.
To be fair, I don't go back in my videos and like watch the woods like for like the little faces and stuff, because
it's not a face. It was,
that's what I'm saying. Like I don't unless it's like in the moment kind of thing, because again, there's so much other stuff to do and to look at and go through, because you could spend hours and hours and hours. I would like to think in a lot of footage, there's potential of stuff there. There's been a lot of encounters where me and James him and another researcher seen something standing there, and I started filming right after, like moments after, and there could be something there potentially. And they did a reenactment, and the other researcher's 6'5", and he gets down in there, and he all of a sudden he's smaller than the thing, definitely not as wide and stuff. It's like, so there's potential that we start filming moments after encounters. There could be stuff there. It's just I don't maybe have an eye for it or the patience stuff.
I'm playing it on a VCL player because it was the only thing that was popping up on my computer here, and it's not as good quality as it was over here. But it looks like there's two little trees. I'll see if I can crop it.
I believe I have. I know I have the longer version, which
it looks like a gray mass kind of comes across in between two trees, and that's all you see.
A gray mass, huh?
Let me rewatch it on here once. Oop.
That I'm not saying. I honestly, I'm not seeing what you're seeing, but
no, I didn't either that time. But it was really clear the first time.
What I am noticing, though, it could be the frames, the pixelization of the trees swaying through, and so I am kind of seeing that, which I'm not saying that's what you've seen and stuff like that, but I am seeing like artifacts of pixelization because of you're filming through trees. That resolution should be like a GoPro 60, 100. But, when you show it on here and stuff, it changes it. So I think it degrades it to like 720p. It's going to add more artifacts. So, you got to always be careful when you're looking at enhancing and know about that stuff. So you don't get tricked.
Absolutely.
And stuff like that. I'm not it's because it's too easy to fool yourself or to fool other people. If you were being nefarious, really hard. It's really easy to do that. You don't want that.
It seems like, like you said, with the video kind of degrading as it was playing live on the show, it kind of pixelated a little bit, and that might have been what I saw. But it looked, there's the two trees in the background like this, and there was just this like gray that kind of like shifted between the two is what I saw. Like not a figure or nothing, but it was this gray movement. So I don't know.
Well, at least there's audio and stuff, you try that.
Oh yeah. Absolutely.
Something's there making noises, right?
I totally overlooked that when I saw that. I'm like, what is that? But yeah, you can definitely hear something walking around. I'm sorry. I've wasted way too much time looking at a gray blob on your screen, and I'm sorry. But anyway, we have one more clip here, and I don't mean to keep you. We've kind of run over here, but
as long as you want.
Okay. Well, thank you. One last vocal here. You want to cue that up and tell people what we're listening for?
What's it called again?
Bigfoot.
Oh, I know what it is. Yeah, this
response.
We were up in the north, and I believe this is when we heard stuff around camper, and we started to investigate, and we started hearing stuff. I believe this is when this is from. This is from somewhere, from some expedition. I believe this is a response that we got, that I was recording. Someone else made the call, and this was the response.
Gotcha. Very cool. You can just kind of hear it in there, the woo, kind of off in the distance. Very neat, man.
Yeah, I wish I had more information on that. It was an older file, and that's all I have. I had different computers, different hard drives, and a couple of different computers that lost a lot of good evidence and stuff. So I don't have some of the exact details of like the full clip and stuff would be titled differently, and I should know better. But it was just, that is simply a response to someone got that I was standing next to them recording, and luckily, and was probably got on the GoPro, honestly. I've had really good luck with the audio from the GoPros, having their multiple mics and all that. It's kind of interesting.
Absolutely. All right. Well, I'm going to let you go here really quick here, coming up on the end of the show. We have 2 questions here I want to get to, and remind everyone, if you do have another question, throw it in the comments and we'll try and squeeze it in before we wrap up here. First off, Grandizer said, did your team do gifting of Bigfoot in the region, assuming it was Bigfoot? And what is your take on gifting?
No, we don't do gifting because we don't want to. I personally don't want to associate food with myself and Bigfoot and have them mad at me that I didn't bring the food or the right food or enough food when they feel like it should have been the right time. But we have up north and stuff. Robert Kreider suggested, we leave them apples, and gifting would be you leave them something and you're not expecting anything in return. What people are doing is offering something for something in return, like evidence or beads, or it's a trade. You guys are more like trading, not gifting per se, because a lot of people are like trying to get something out of it. So like up north, we left them apples, and we haven't been up there in a couple of years, so that was a gift.
Everybody says one of the old members on your team used to daily gift apples in a spot 6 feet above the tree, and they would also disappear without a trace. We would also have activity in that spot.
Yes. So then supposedly, he did some gummy bears. They like gummy bears, and then he stopped doing that, and they supposedly broke up a bunch of branches and stuff, and they didn't like that. And that also leads to, you leave that mess behind for someone else to clean up. Okay.
Yep.
Now other people at that park, location, trail, walking their dog, walking their kids, now they have to deal with something that's angry, mad, and hungry. You leave that mess for someone else to sweep up, and I don't think that's appropriate.
Absolutely. All right, and I think it'll be the last one here. Do you think they think we can see them as well in the dark or the night as they see us?
No. They know 100%. I believe they know we cannot see them at nighttime without the help of tools like flashlights and night vision. But I do know, and I think they're noticing that Bigfoot researchers, when we're holding stuff up and we are acting like we can definitely see stuff at night, I think they definitely are picking up like, oh my gosh, these guys, when they're holding this, whatever this is to their eyes, they're able to see us, because there's been experiences like up north with Robert Kreider. He went up north with us with the Sea Squatchers and Jason Kenzie. We had our encounter. One was seen on thermal that didn't record, and once that creature noticed that this person was looking at it with this device, oh my gosh, it could see me. It went straight back and disappeared, ducked down, disappeared. So I think they definitely are picking up, or they know that, when they hold something to the eye, it's at nighttime, and you act like you can see stuff now, well, then you probably can see stuff now.
Absolutely. Here's another. Grandizer asks all of our guests this. Which do you think is the best documented Bigfoot encounter? The William Rowe encounter, 1955, the Patterson-Gimlin film, 1967, Ape Canyon incident, 1924, or the Albert Ostman abduction, 1924, or other?
That's probably easiest, because I think the one that's on film is the best documented. Because they all have about the same amount of story impact, unless you have that video impact.
Absolutely. So that would be the Patterson-Gimlin, you're saying?
Yes.
Absolutely. Awesome, man. Thanks again for coming on. Best insights, taking questions and commentary. Much appreciated. Stay happy, healthy, and blessed to you. And tell everybody again, we have the link for your YouTube in the show notes. You got a convention that you do every year. I think the one you just said was this past weekend. So
Yes.
It's past this year, but where can people find information about next year's and everything about you?
We are going to be waiting on the information and stuff, just because I don't want to. I don't like to promise a venue in place that's might change and stuff. We actually talking about having it at the campground and stuff with the owner and stuff. So we were working on some new changes with that, but be on the lookout for the Lost Cryptids Conservatory YouTube, their Facebook page, Facebook group. I will post, and usually post to all the other groups and stuff, so you can find all that information. There is the Michigan Bigfoot and Dogman Conference page on Facebook itself there too. So I would say, a month or two, or as basically next year starts rolling closer, we'll have information on the conference and stuff. But the YouTube, we're always doing live shows, and I am trying to slowly, I got a bunch of projects, I know, but I'm trying to take all the evidence and slap it together into one big video, just nothing but evidence back to back to back to back to back, showcasing everything. And then again, having a place where it's all in one spot and I can just hear. So
awesome. Very cool. I will work on getting the links to the convention page and your other stuff in the show notes too. I didn't have those in there, but we will throw them in there for everyone as well going forward so that you can check that out after the live. So awesome. Or you can send
I appreciate you having me on.
Absolutely. I appreciate your time. And I feel like you're an amazing guest and so many stories. And there's so much more that we can get into because I wanted to ask you about the Dogman over there as well, because I've noticed when I was at your convention, it was just the Bigfoot convention. And now it's the Bigfoot and Dogman convention. So we will have to chat again in the future and see why that's changed and some of the other stories and stuff that you've had. And yeah. Definitely looking forward to that.
Most definitely. And I would like to invite you and any other researcher who wants to come to Michigan and look for Bigfoot, please contact me. Let's get together. Let's make it happen. Because, I think with good amount of numbers and real researchers dedicated, we're going to get some good evidence. So I'm hoping, because I'm usually out there by myself. So with work and everything, it's been hard to get with James and stuff this year. It's like our schedules has not been lining up, but I would love to have a big group out, kind of like the 168 expedition, except for here in Michigan. That would be an epic adventure.
Absolutely. Awesome, man. Well, I look forward to having you back on and chatting more, and best of luck to your convention. Hope it goes well and everything gets worked out with that as well, too. So,
of course, man. You too. And anytime.
Awesome, man. All right. I'll talk to you later.
All right, see you guys.
All right, guys, that is our show for this week. Thank you for liking, subscribing, and sharing. We will get the show notes updated with the links to the Facebook group as well as the convention for you guys. The YouTube is in there now so that you can check that out and go look at all the evidence and stuff from the Lost Cryptid Conservatory. With that being said, make sure you go ahead and share, like, and subscribe to his stuff. He's got a lot of evidence on there that he shares. Good stuff over there. Make sure you like and subscribe. All things here on the Untold Radio Network. And, of course, Cryptids, Anomalies, and the Paranormal Society to find out all about my research and the stuff that we're doing here in Wisconsin and across the U.S. So until next time, guys, thanks for watching. Thanks for tuning in. And until next time, I'll see you on the edge.